Meeting called to order 6:04 p.m. Roll call. President Ganda. Present. Director Ahmed Ghani. Present. Director Munir. Present. Director Sheikh Khalil. Director Bardwaj.
Present.
Director Denson.
Present.
Director Shukat. Vice Chair Shuktaburti.
Present.
Senator Agarwal.
Present.
Senator Carter.
Present.
Senator Otmore. Present. Senator Vedder.
Present.
Senator Mohammed.
Here.
Senator Greer. Here. Senator Srivastava. Here. Senator Couch. Sorry. Senator Ogle.
Here.
Senator Smith.
Senator Smith.
Here.
Okay. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Senator Mohammed,
I move the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
is there a second? Senator Vedder? All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Agenda is approved as presented. I entertain a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes. Senator Greer, is there a second? Senator Carter?
I second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Previous meeting minutes approved as presented. I now yield the floor to Maureen Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, President Ganda, inviting me to speak to you all. I'm with the Lecturers Employees Union. I'm a staff person for the Lecturers Union on the 3 campuses, and anybody that was here last year was probably aware that the lecturers were organizing for a new contract last year, and thanks to a lot of community and student support, the lecturers did quite well in the increase in pay and brought it to much more livable full rate wage of pay for people. Unfortunately, in Flint, a lot of our lecturers are given very part-time jobs, so a $10,000 increase on a part-time job, a $10,000 full-time increase doesn't transform people's lives quite the way that the raises in Ann Arbor did for the Ann Arbor lecturers that had also been being underpaid for a long time. The reason we were able to win the achievements that we did when we did was because the Board of Regents of the university, 5 of the 8 of them refused to pass the budget last June that President Schlichtel was asking for them to authorize for the next academic year. So we got large increases, much larger than we expected on these satellite campuses because of the regents being willing to hold the budget out like that. But what we found out in implementation of this contract is that Ann Arbor still didn't send any extra money to Flint or Dearborn to pay the higher lecturers' salaries. So there's a lot of struggling on campus about where the money is coming from. And I'm sure many of you have heard that Flint runs a deficit, that we're losing too many students, and there's not enough money. And we feel terrible as a union that we hear different constituencies and campus say, Leo broke Flint. We broke the budget. We don't know where the money's going to come from. It's not coming from Ann Arbor. So we realized that we had to try to run another campaign this year to make the President Schlichtel change his mind and actually open. Ann Arbor is so cash flush. You may have heard they just, in this current capital campaign that they're in, the first public university to ever reach $5 billion in a fundraising campaign. They will exceed that. There's still 2 more months of that money. But none of that money is allowed to go to Dearborn or Flint. Any money that gets spent in Flint has to be raised by tuition or by Flint's own fundraising. So the lecturers and allies that were with us over the contract year want to try to make another attempt to challenge that siloed budget model. Fortunately, 2 of the two of the regions that just won last week in the sweep, there's 7 out of 8 Democrats on the Board of Regents now. And this one here is a lecturer. So he's a union member who teaches in Ann Arbor. And he says that his biggest thing, this is for the Dearborn paper, is to bring equity across the 3 campuses for faculty members and for students, to look at why Michigan has to cost as much as it does for students, why only certain students are given a guarantee of the promise around tuition support. So we know we can't win this alone, even if we have the region's support. It took so much to get them to increase our salary. What we're asking for to break the silos is even bigger. So what we're trying to do on all 3 campuses the rest of this semester is have a conversation with students, with tenure track, with our own members, and with the administration at Dearborn and Flint about how their lives are impacted because the extreme wealth of Ann Arbor is not shared in the least with Flint or Dearborn. We live or fall on our own raising of money. So I would like, if to pass these around, we're going to have a forum, a community meeting of everybody who's interested the Tuesday after Thanksgiving in French Hall. If anybody's available to come, or pass these around if you think there are other constituency groups or individuals who are interested in thinking about what would be the goals of a cross-campus attempt to get the university to send money from Ann Arbor to Flint and Dearborn. What are your priorities? What's tenure track's priorities? What are the lecturers' priorities? What are the civil rights folks in Flint trying to get Flint students into University of Michigan-Flint? What are their priorities? Then we want to, that's how we're going to decide what the goals of the campaign are and whether we have a viable campaign. So I'll pass these around. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I know, comments or questions.
What time on Tuesday?
Tuesday, the November 27th, 5:30 to 7 in room 130 of French Hall. Does anybody want to hear one or take it? The other thing besides engaging the regents to make next year's budget more Flint and Dearborn friendly that we're doing is we're looking at why the Michigan State Legislature gives half as much support for each student in Flint and Dearborn than they do in Ann Arbor. So you get half as much Michigan tax money as students in Ann Arbor do, and we want to know why that is. And the university tries to tell us that that's because that's a state requirement, but the state legislators that we are meeting with tell us that the university requests to be considered 3 universities and not 1 university when it comes to funding from the state. So we intend to take groups of our campaign, whatever students and faculty are interested in joining together, to meet with the regents individually and tell them why we think the U of M's budget should be different, but also to meet with the state legislators that sit on the Higher Ed Appropriations Committee and talk to them about why state funding should be different than it is now. That's our sense of what our goals need to be. The goals will get worked out by who joins the campaign, but if you are interested in being part of those meetings, we would love to see lots of different people engaged in it.
Was it done?
So the state about the state funding, maybe I get this confused. It's not about the amount of students present on campus. Like an advocate more because they have more students on campus, or was it?
No, per
How is it calculated?
student, they receive twice as much per student from the state appropriations to support higher education, which is a lot less than it was a long time ago. It's only about 15 to 25% of the budget, but that's still a lot of money. If U of M would just accept taking money from the state, with the state requiring that all U of M students get the same amount, versus them being able to say the University of Michigan is Ann Arbor, and then these satellite campuses are totally separate universities, and we'd like this funded to $5,000 a student, and these 2 satellite campuses funded to $2,500. If we could get the legislators to demand that University of Michigan accept the same per student funding appropriation from the state, then the budgets of these 2 campuses would look tremendously different than they do now. But overall, you just have to ask yourself, is it all right for Ann Arbor? Like, literally at the table, at the bargaining table in the end, administration told us, we will give you more money for Ann Arbor. And we already had $15,000 raises in Ann Arbor for the lowest paid lecturers. But we can't give you any more money for Dearborn and Flint. Why? Because no money travels down the highway either way from Ann Arbor. It's just the business model. It's just the smart business model that we stick to. How can you raise more than $5 billion and not turn your head in either direction about what the needs in Dearborn and Flint are and think that you're going to, and when Schlissel was asked on October 8th at a breakfast where he came and brought leaders from across campus to tout how successful this was, the president of the lecturers union asked him, that is so much money. That's enough money to extend the Go Blue promise to both campuses and just make tuition a lot lower than it is right now. And he said, well, really, that money is intended to diversify class at Ann Arbor. We have too many rich kids here. We don't have enough poor kids here. We have enough working class poor kids in Flint and Dearborn already. We don't need to diversify on that front. So that's why the $5 billion needs to stay in Ann Arbor. It's like such a crazy thing to say, and we're hoping the regents will challenge him on it, but we as a campus community need to decide if we're going to be part of that challenge or not too. When you look at the money, we have a finance committee and we've been working with people to really look at the money. It's mind-blowing how much money there is in Ann Arbor. So hopefully, I've heard, I've listened to President Ganda address the Regents meeting when it was here in October, so I have some understanding of your priorities, but I hope that we, as lecturers and faculty, can come to really understand what your financial drives are too, and we can find some synergy in this campaign this year. Our goal is to impact it once again. Next June 20th is when the regents will vote on the budget for the following year, and June is also when the state legislators vote on appropriations for higher ed. So we hope to build a campaign plan that can really impact both of those decisions in June. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Moving on to director reports, starting with President Ganda.
So I want to say thank you so much for those who made it to the Victor's campaign last night. It was really beautiful because it was the first time for me being in the Capitol, and the renovation was really outstanding. And also from make sure you guys are aware about what the Victor's campaign was about. The university was able to raise more than $56 million, which would go to help the scholarship, labs, and whatnot. So that's the reason why students were supposed to be there to celebrate, and thank you for those who came. So this week I've been working on student legal services, and which is basically attorneys that can represent students in issues such as criminal defense, housing, family, immigration, state planning, and more. Ann Arbor currently offers these services, and we don't have it in Dearborn, we don't have it here as well. So right now we're just getting information and inquiring about if it's needed here in Flint, and Dr. Snyder is helping me get around that. I yield.
Thank you. My report is the letter, we talked about this last week, Senate was going to help draft a letter for the student body regarding, it was like a reflection on midterm elections, but also on the vote work that we did. So I'm here to present that letter to our audiences here and to audiences watching. Dear students, during the planning period of our administration, we thought long and hard about what we wanted to achieve, how we wanted to achieve growth within our organization. how we wanted to begin the process of change within our communities in order to build a sustainable future together. We decided that promoting civic engagement through political and social education would be the best way to uplift our community and to get them to believe in their ability to create change. As elected leaders, we have a duty to start the work of change, to be able to leave behind something for the next administration to pick up and to hit the ground running. We understand that a lot of our work will not be finished in our short tenure on campus, but it isn't about putting our names on projects and walking away. It's about leaving behind a movement, a goal that our university will continue to thrive after us because we set a precedent for those to follow, a precedent that says we will never give up. Over the course of the last 4 months, student government worked tirelessly to create events that emphasize the need for conversations revolving around student advocacy and youth engagement in the democratic process. We also dedicated weeks to handing out voter guides with information about candidates and ballot proposals. This fall, student government was able to get 50 students registered to vote. In September, we held the Student Forum, which was an event where students were able to share what political and social issues impact them most. Student concerns focused on education, healthcare, and immigration. Working alongside the Campus Vote Project, Campus Elections Engagement Project, and other university partners, we were able to produce the U of M-Flint Student Voter Forum Guide with information about where candidates stand on these issues, as well as online sources to support and provide more information on specific issues or candidates. On October 24th, student government held another voter engagement event, Our Time Is Now, How America's Youth Can Impact American Democracy. This event consisted of four panelists. 3 of the speakers were young members of the U of M-Flint community. Matt Deitch, a leading member of the March for Our Lives movement, also served as a panelist. Students were able to hear about why political engagement is important and were able to ask panelists questions about their own experiences and concerns. On November 5th, a day before the election, student government, in partnership with our voter engagement partners, held a Get Out the Vote event. We had tables set up with voter guides, stickers, ballot examples, polling location information, and other resources available to students. We are thankful for the hard work of our SG team and university community. Your support and belief in our platform is recognized and appreciated. This year, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives, 35 seats in the 100-member Senate, 36 out of 50 student governor positions, and many state and local official offices were up for grabs. Our democracy depends on our willingness to accept our critical role in it. And in reflecting on the results of the election, a common theme that has been established in our American society is the power of idealism. Idealism has always been one aspect of our approach on social change. It is what starts movements and creates leaders. But idealism can be limiting because oftentimes it dismisses the other key component of social change and thus blinds us to the deep destructive social realities that exist in our society. In short, idealism does not always produce results that affect change, and that is a truth that is haunting American politics today. So the question becomes, when will action be taken? These newly elected officials are coming to office in a very volatile time in American history. They are now in a unique position to now respond to these political and social issues with more action than ever before. In addressing the pragmatic realities of our American culture, we are able to understand that beyond the work of movement building, we need a dramatic change in the institutional establishments dictating the future of this nation. Looking forward, the election has restored a certain amount of optimism and hope for young people everywhere who now believe in a reality where a diverse, youthful political presence in our nation is indeed possible. These newly elected leaders bring with them new opportunities and ideas about how they want to challenge the political system, provide increased access to education and other resources to poorer communities, and develop new systems that help support marginalized groups. And reflecting on midterm elections, it's important to recognize that history was made this election period. Janaea Hayes, a former high school teacher, is the first Black woman elected to represent Connecticut in the House of Representatives. Jared Polis of Colorado is the first openly gay man to be elected governor of a U.S. state. Sylvia Garcia and Veronica Escobar will be Texas' first Latina woman in Congress. Ayanna Pressley will be Massachusetts' first Black congresswoman. Rashida Tlaib is one of the first Muslim women elected to Congress from Michigan's 13th congressional district. Ilhan Omar joins Talib as the first Muslim woman elected to Congress from Minnesota and the first to wear hijab. She's also the first Somali American woman in Congress. Sharice Davids is one of the first 2 Native American women elected to Congress in Kansas. The other individual is Deb Haaland, a member of New Mexico's Laguna Pueblo tribe. Tennessee elected its first female U.S. Senator, Marsha Blackburn. Young Kim is the first Korean American woman in Congress from California's 39th congressional district. Lou Leon Guerrero will become the first woman to govern the U.S. island territory of Guam. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 29, is the youngest woman elected to Congress in U.S. history. To sum it up, diversity wins. The story of America is one that is just as tragic as it is beautiful, and the fight for justice in this country is truly fought for and accomplished by young people. Ordinary people stood up, mobilized, marched, and started movements. Change starts here, with us. Let's work together and deconstruct the narratives that divide us, because we are stronger when we are unified. Our movements are a part of a much larger struggle, a human struggle. There's power in that. There's power in the diversity of this nation. There's power in the complexities of our identities and in the stories that we tell. A youthful energy is shaking the world today, an energy that's attacking the power structure of this nation. The youth are no longer afraid but hopeful and ready to fight for the future. Sincerely, your student government, Ganda and Jar Administration 2018-2019. Director Ahmed.
Hi everyone, so I just have a couple things to report. I went to the ASIC meeting on Monday and we talked about various topics regarding the Flint River, to lactation rooms, to student safety on campus, and how teachers should best work with students who have disabilities. I also brought up what we can do to facilitate cultural competency on campus and bring awareness of it between faculty and students. They also expressed that the syllabus is too long and are trying to find different ways to get information out regarding, what students need, what they have access to in regards to their educational health, their mental health, and disabilities. I also meant to attend the Medicaid forum on Monday, but as I got to North Bank Center, they only had 2 participants, so they canceled it and they need a minimum of 8. So they said that they're going to be rescheduling that meeting. If you guys can, I'll let you guys know when that meeting is. They gave me $25 farmer's market certificate, so I think that's a pretty good incentive. I don't know about you guys, but it's pretty good for me. And with that, I yield.
Director Munir.
Funding board balance, account balance is $6,850 and Senate balance is $8,200. Funding board will meet on November 19th at 5:30 p.m. in SG office.
Thank you. Director Sheffield.
I met with Picasso today and we discussed the budget for BYOB. I have a rough outline of cost of food, but it's not set because we were just like sitting there like touching numbers on our phone. So there was discussion on how we want to serve fruit. The fruit cups cost, if we do 100 cups for 3 days, it'd be $879 versus if we just served whole fruit to the students, it would be $192 for the 3 days. So that takes the rough number we got with the fruit cups would be $3,485 versus whole fruit at $2,798. And I just wanted to get you guys' feedback on that, how you guys feel when you discuss it in Senate and when we discuss it in e-board. That we discussed granola bars, fruit cups, bagels, breakfast sandwiches, coffee, tea, milk, and cereal. I forgot to mention juice, so that's probably like another $10, give or take. And they also want SG to sample their food on Tuesday. Can I get a show of hands of how many of you guys are going to be on campus on Tuesday?
Tuesday?
Yeah. So they want us to sample their food and then give them our feedback on it so they can critique it for their big opening. If any of you guys have any questions regarding food or that sampling, let me know with that.
Thank you. Director Bernard.
So we had our second meet and greet today. I will be discussing with SG members for future events like these. One of the ideas that was also brought up that maybe having SG meet and greets in Flint's Cafe as well. With that, student relations will be helping Senator Srivastava with her Live in the Loft. And I met with Dr. Schneider about upcoming focus group sessions. And the details for these sessions I had already posted, so I would like to ask SG members to be there and participate in these sessions, as we believe representation on these groups from the SG is very important. I'm also working on filing the concerns and will most probably be attending the Senate meeting next week in order to channel them to proper administrations. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Director Denson?
5 delegates visited Central Michigan last weekend for the United Student Governments of Michigan Conference. We were able to connect with many universities, and I think learn some useful and interesting information. Sessions that I sat in on were focused on the rights and responsibilities of student organizations and holding universities accountable for sustainability efforts. Also, Eastern Michigan University is spearheading an effort to reactivate the Student Association of Michigan. The organization is similar to the United Student Governments of Michigan, but seems to have a stronger connection with the state legislature. Also, the letter recommendation committee is still working to get speakers for viewpoints that we haven't heard yet to come speak at one of our meetings. Dearborn did recently pass a resolution on their campus, so hopefully we can get that very soon. Once that happens, we can start finalizing language and hopefully present something to the Senate. The Foreign Outreach Committee is working on a tri-campus resolution that urges the university to take stronger actions to make sure that the University of Michigan is carbon neutral by 2035. We are finalizing that resolution, and we hope to present at the next meeting on November 29th. The goal is that all 3 campuses will have that resolution passed so that it can be presented to the Board of Regents at their December 6th meeting.
Director Chappelle? No report. Vice Chair Senate, Director Murphy?
Hello, everyone. So I actually visited Central Michigan alongside Director Benson, Senator Greer, Senator Upmore, and Senator Ogle as well. I was able to get some contact information from different senators from Western Michigan University, Grand Valley State University, and Michigan State University. Going forward, I'd like to hopefully do some joint events with them, but I'll discuss that with you sometime in the future through Senate or e-board. And I also attended a session on marketability alongside Senator Upmore and Senator Ogle. We will also be looking at that as to how to reach the students better, and that's it.
Thank you. Advisory report.
Just a reminder, October 26th is the opening, grand opening of CASOs, which I was upstairs.
No, it's like
November.
Definitely November.
Thank you. Moving on to University Committee reports, starting with Academic Affairs Advisory Committee.
Yeah, it is me. I'm so used to it. Called Triple AC. Okay. I participated in the Triple AC committee yesterday. Vice Chancellor Christy Huntenstein came to explain how curriculum works, which is a system to notify faculty and staff about curriculum changes. So curriculum changes that occur and affecting non-academic areas, more importantly affecting students. So that's the major change that's happening. So she wants to flag this process for other non-academic areas to be aware of this. For example, if we are going to have international students in a program, we need to seek CVIS, which is a Students and Exchange Visitor Information System, hosted by Department of Homeland Security, which used to maintain the visas and I-20. So, for example, if the application is sent to CVIS too late, we won't be able to house as many students as we wanted. So that's currently a problem right now. And for any program change that concern the catalog, have to go through curriculum. So everyone get notified via email, including non-academic unit, as I said previously, which can verify that things are done in the right way, such as financial aid, registrar, international center, and etc. Next, we went on giving a recommendation for the Master's to Doctor of Nursing practice with a concentration in executive leadership, and we voted in favor of it. So one of the recommendations was that advising should allow students to choose alternate scheduling method that will allow them to double up classes, which will reduce the travel. Because how the program was set up, that the student will have to come to campus like I think twice in a year. So if the program is flexible, you can double up those courses, meaning you can just have to come to campus once. The other one is that still same thing. The other one is that management faculty consider the purpose of the face-to-face meeting and consider you to leave the courses completely online. And also, there was a discussion regarding this program about the revenue, because in the proposal, it says 80-20 split, but usually for 80-20 split is usually for new program, but this is not a new program, it's just a concentration, so it should be 60-40 split. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Academic Assessment Committee. The committee will be meeting next week, Monday at 11 a.m. Thank you. Administrative Services Advisory Committee.
So, like I said, I recently attended their meeting on Monday. I'll just go in depth, so bear with me. We talked on defibrillators and the striker chairs, last meeting, and the faculty are not aware where they're located or how to use striker chairs. If you're unfamiliar with what striker chairs are, students who are, handicapped, when there's an emergency, they're carried out through, striker chairs. And so it's a really big issue that there's a lot of people that don't know where they are located. In terms of something that comes up, I mean, it's a safety hazard. Chief Ray expressed, having maps of where all of them are, and also suggested to table this for next time. So I'll update you guys the next meeting, which will be in January. He expressed that if students have mobility issues, they need to express this to DPS, for them to help take care of them. Ms. Mary Gray expressed, faculty might claim from EBS for more information. There was also talk of having an orientation for instructors and faculty to have these safety tutorials, gun violence first aid, striker chairs, etc., or even credits towards students for healthcare science department, to be able to facilitate, taking care of students who are handicapped. Priority comes from, faculty council for sustainability, so backward orientation, etc. Guidelines to be produced for faculty and students. We'll have Mike Lane to the next meeting and see what he says, and then from there, bring it up to the faculty council. The Chief Gray also mentioned that superior training is free upon request. So I definitely think that's something that we should all look into if we have the time. There's a statement in the syllabus for students to express their disability, and it should be up to the syllabi, but it turned into a point where multiple faculty on the committee brought up that their syllabi are already really 14 pages long, and students aren't really reading all those 14 pages. So if a student has disabilities, it's not like they're really going through it. So we're trying to figure out a better way to get that out there to students and to know. Chief Ray also updated the CAS statement, and the committee specifically identifying if there's a system for this process. I also brought up during the meeting if there's a good way to reach faculty and students on cultural competency. And so I was suggested to reach out to Title IX International Center office on campus. They have an investigator there, and to reach out to Beth Manning and Christy to get involved and give it a push, and the provost can start the discussion on how to set the standards for this. I will be setting a meeting with Dr. Snyder to see where to go from here, and if this is something that Senate is going to be interested in and wants to work on. The MSB phone has been removed during renovation, and there was a safety hazard. So if there's a need to get a landline or some sort of power boost from 107 and 109, it's something that's going to be worked on, because even radios don't work down there, which is a really big hazard. So yeah, on top of that, we talked about food service. Mike Hay expressed that there's a new catering company, Picasso, it's doing well, and like Dr. Snyder said, they're having their opening on November 26th. The riverfront was just receded, the dam is gone, but the underwater structure is still there. There's going to be a 3 to 5 year project in which Consumers Project for Restoration Upstream and Genesee County Parks restates up and down the river. They're trying to figure out the noise concern in the atrium of the White Building 12. And with that,
Thank you. Administrative Services Advisory Committee.
That's what we just did.
Oh, my bad. Committee on Undergraduate Admission Standards.
The committee hasn't met yet.
Faculty Advisory Committee on Outreach and Engagement.
Committee will meet the first Wednesday of December.
Gen- Thank you. General Education Curriculum Committee.
The committee did not meet this week.
Graduate Board.
Committee met November 12th, this Monday. Dean of Nursing, she presented a review of Master of Science in Nursing. It was approved as it is, like in its current format and the current curriculum by the board, but it still needs approval from AAAC. She will present in AAAC's next meeting. The Dean of Graduate Board of Graduate Department, he presented a proposal that all the new programs has to answer like few questions, so there will be no overlap with the existing programs, just to avoid any kind of harm to the existing programs or loss of admissions from the existing programs. The 4 questions he mentioned were the new programs has to explain how your program overlaps with existing graduate program. It was debated by all members that it is very impractical to explain this, and how their program is overlapping with the existing one. They have their own reasons. The second question was to explain how your program differentiates itself, how you reconcile issues of common content, include evidence like letters from dean or program director. He also asked to mention provide documentation from outside sources. And it was postponed in this meeting, they will reconsider it in the next one.
Thank you. Library Committee.
The library committee met 2 weeks ago, Friday, November 2nd, until 3 p.m. At the meeting, it was discussed that the library has a budget for each department. Each department gets about $20,000, and they spend a lot of it for the books or journals or articles. We next discussed the partnership for the sister campuses with Dearborn and Ann Arbor, and how we use IOL, so it helps students save money for books. It's called interlibrary loan. Next, we discussed the NQ, which is a research project between the campuses. It's giving students the opportunity to sign up for research opportunities. The next thing we discussed was pest management and how the library does a protocol every 3 months where a vet bill is found. It was discussed that vet bills are not caused by non-affiliated people, because they're always found in a certain area on the 3rd floor, and homeless people always stay on the 1st floor. And next, we discussed that Paul Gifford, which is the archivist for the library, and Laura Reason is retiring, and the library committee will not be meeting anymore time soon.
Thank you. Office of Extended Learning Advisory Committee.
The committee is meeting on December 7th.
Research and Creative Activities Committee, they have not met yet, they have not set a date out yet. Scholarship Awards and Special Event. Student Concerns Committee.
So the committee's second meeting scheduled for the 29th of November. And a few things that I'll be adding to the agenda. The accessibility button is not functioning in some of the buildings. And then I recently, after registration opened, I got a number of complaints about advising in Student Success Center. So I'll be bringing that out. And if any senators or directors have anything else to add, just let me know. I yield.
Thank you. Technology Committee.
Committee hasn't met yet. Thank you.
Campus Parking and Traffic Advisory Committee, they have rescheduled, but they haven't set a date yet. Budget Committee.
The committee hasn't met yet.
Department of Public Safety Oversight.
The committee elected its chair and secretary, as well as got an update on going cases it's reviewing. Thank you.
Enrollment Management Committee.
The committee meets on December 12th.
Recreation Advisory Committee.
The committee hasn't met yet.
Are there any other university committee reports? Okay, moving on to senator reports, starting with Senator Agarwal.
No report.
Senator Carter,
No report.
Senator Upmore, Senator Vedder.
So after I got the complaints about advising in Student Success Center, I was considering looking into just new ways we can support Student Success Center, have possibly, if this works out, student helpers to advise, so they won't be advisors, so just like unofficial volunteer student advisors. Anyway.
Thank you. Senator Mohammed,
No report.
Senator Greer.
I want to make another proposal. I want to pair up with Senator Vedder to have more academic support for academic advisors. I feel like professors, not only that they get course evaluations, but academic advisors should get course evaluations too. That way, like students feel more academically supported with their majors. And the second thing, Anatomy Club needs members. They meet every Tuesday and 4:65. It needs to be at 9:20.
Thank you. Senator Srivastava. No report. Senator Ogle.
So with regard to my caucus, I met briefly with Vivian Adams from Dearborn, she's the president for Dearborn State Government, to talk about a potential ex officio seat on the Center State Government in Harvard, as well as Dearborn. Roughly, we're both on the same page with the idea. We kind of talked about how we wanted a person from our student government and a person from Dearborn student government to attend the CSG meeting once a month to give a report on what we've been doing at each campus and kind of voice concerns and be able to discuss issues within our student government. We also wanted to have somebody on CSG coordinate with both of them coverage to a dedicated role to have relay information across the three campuses. And so since we were kind of on the same page, I brought it up to Senate, and Senate was kind of on page with this idea. I'm planning on moving forward to bringing it to Austin Glass, the Speaker of the Assembly in Ann Arbor, to see how he feels about this weekend's thing.
Thank you. Senator Smith.
I met with Dr. Snyder about my caucus, about the portable pamphlet that we're putting together. After discuss with the Senate, we're gonna come up with a table of content. Also, I was thinking about maybe if there's a way we can get students' feedback as far as if there's anything in particular that they would like to see added to that. Discuss that with Dr. Snyder as well.
Thank you. Are there any other senator reports? Senator Vedder.
I just want to clarify that the thing with student advisors is it's just a very raw idea right now. So just an idea, no details or any descriptions. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other senator reports? Okay, before I open the floor to any comments, questions, and concerns from the senators and directors, are there any from the audience?
To the chair, I have two things, if I may be able to ask them concurrently.
Yeah.
Thank you. Through your chair, too, I don't know if it'd be to Senator Badar or to Director Al-Migani, who would be speaking of maintenance. I've noticed that some of the handicap buttons that open the doors are either very slow or not working. So I didn't hear that report today. I don't know if that was something that we brought before, but I think that should be looked into for the future. I know me personally, a few days ago, I tried hitting the button from the youth center into the French Hall. I had my hands full, so I hit the button and it didn't open at all. So it was inconvenient to me, and I can only imagine how maybe someone actually needed to use that button to get through a door. So I would like to bring that to the student government's attention.
Director Redwood?
Hi, me and President Gonda are working to draft a letter to the Director of Facilities, and we were already brought this to attention by one of the concerned students from student body. So as soon as we hear back from them, we will be updating on our student government.
Excellent, thank you. The other question I have is, do you have a parliamentarian in the state government?
It would be the director of government legal affairs.
The question I had is what parliamentary procedures do you use? Robert's rules?
Robert's
years?
rules, yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay, I now open the floor to comments, questions, and concerns from senators or directors, starting with questions by raising your hand. Director Hamdan.
I just wanted to express that Senators and Senator Vogel, your guys have come in, so I'll be getting them.
Director Burbush.
For the student relations survey, I would like to know how many SG members are willing to help the student relations committee. If you can please raise your hands. So if you're not aware, student government, the survey is basically a 3-question based
Right.
survey about the student government. And we also make sure to ask the students if they have any concerns at the spot. And we give them a few directions of our social media and how our meetings work in case they are not aware of the presence of student government on campus.
And then the survey, what do they need help with? Like passing out the surveys
Yes.
or, okay. then- Gotcha.
Senator Arundel.
I was just reading that.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
One more thing to add to that, me and Dr. Snyder had discussed, and this is yet to be tabled, to look for potential students from student body, if they can help us with these surveys, if they're interested in helping the student government, would be a great idea, so that we do not pressure any of the student government members. So if you think this idea is great, please talk to me about it.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Director Manier.
I have a question from that director, Ahmed Pani. You said that university is willing to provide CPR classes for free.
So DPS has the PR training, so that's free, and they prefer that students go in groups, so that way we can always spend money, and it's about 30 minutes.
So if a student organization wants to do it, like event,
Like how do they,
they want to do an event, a student organization, they want to do an event campus-wide, like anybody can come in and have that class. So can they help with it?
I can find out, it's something that I think Chief Ray, leads, and also information.
Senator.
I just wanted to mention to the board that if anybody has any questions or concerns or issues that they want to bring up with regards to the ex officio seat in Ann Arbor, to please get in contact with me so that I can raise those concerns in any contact that I have with your board.
Senator Bennett.
For Director Benny, about the committee, you said it was taking up too much time for students to actually reach like the accessibility part. So do you think it would make sense if they put it somewhere on Blackboard for students to like opt to choose that option and the professors would just be notified?
Yeah, I actually brought it up to them, and I'll bring it up again. I was saying that it should be something that when they sign up for that, it should be a part of it.
Vice Chair Chico.
As far as I know, almost all professors put in the disability statement or getting help or anything. I think within the first 2 or 3 pages of the syllabus. However, the syllabus normally ends up becoming 14 or 15 pages long, and we just jump to the table of contents or the dates, and then just go along with that. But while I do like the idea of adding it to Blackboard, I feel that if professors were to mention about the disability situation during maybe the first 2 weeks of class, when people are still dropping or joining, that if there is something, come talk to me. That would work as well.
Director Shuka.
I just wanted to tell Director Bridgewater that Senate is not meeting next week. I know you planned on going to their meeting. And to all of student government that there are student government meetings next week.
Director.
I just wanted to bring up one point that I thought about past week. I know earlier within the year we talked about having meetings moved to where it's like this is like Riverfront, the White Building, in regards to getting more accessible meetings to students on campus, because one of the concerns was instead of going to students, or instead of students coming to us, like we should go to students. So I just wanted to bring up the point that since this semester is coming to a close soon, I think we should start considering whether we want to have meetings elsewhere during the winter semester.
If I could just talk to Director Denson, Director Shukat, and Vice Chair Sharpari.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, President Young.
For Director Shaquille, what is the clear number of ULB? I didn't quite get it.
So with fruit cups, if we do like fruit cups instead of whole fruit, it'd be 3,485. And then without, if we just decide to do whole fruit, it'd be 2,798. That's excluding like EBS stuff, and we just have to pick up juice.
Thank you.
Okay, the floor is now closed at 6:57.
Good job.